Hey everybody, this is Jackie from Jax Gets Lost Down a Book Hole. Um, okay, so it's been a while since I've done a video. I think the last video I did was announcing that I was going to participate in Readathon, which was maybe a week or two ago. No, I think 2 weeks ago. So I decided to do a book tag today. I'm doing the Ultimate Book Lovers tag. I believe the original creator is Sam's Nonsense. I apologize if it's not, it is someone else. But I will look for the video, whether it's her or someone else, and I will post the link to that video on this video. Okay, let's get started because the last time I filmed this already once, and it turned out to be really long, like too long to upload, so I'm doing it again. Okay, so, Number 1, top 3 favorite books. And at the moment, these are just the favorite books I can think of. Because I answered these questions a long time ago. And I cannot think of any other favorite books at the moment. Although the first one is kind of tied with A Tale of Two Cities. Okay, so Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I think it's Charlotte Bronte. Of course, I don't have the book with me to check. But I think it's Charlotte Bronte. A Court of Mist and Fury, which I think is the best book, and I think everybody would agree with me that has read this book series so far, of A Court of Thorns and Roses. A Court of Mist and Fury is the best book out of that, because I can understand why people did not like. I didn't hate it like some people do, but I can understand why people did not like A Court of Wings and Ruin. Like, it was kind of a disappointment. There were good parts, but there were bad parts, and it was a bit disappointing. And then the last book is The Forgotten Garden, which is the first book that I read by Kate Morton, an Australian author who writes historical fiction. Basically, her books are it has past and present where you go back and forth between the two usually, and there's kind of like the present is connected to the past in some way, like a character from the present that the protagonist meets is connected, or the protagonist herself. Usually the main character is a female, and usually she has to piece together something about the past. And a lot of times it's something that happened, some big event where someone died or something, like someone was murdered, or this something like that. So to me, it's kind of them piecing together. So it's kind of a mystery. But I love her writing style and her, and her. She's a great writer. That's Kate Morton, and the book I put on here for my favorite book of hers is The Forgotten Garden, but that's mostly because that was my first. But I like, because it kind of centers around this fairy tale book and this garden, and I really like that aspect of it. So I think that one's kind of my favorite so far out of all her books. Okay, question number 2, your top 3 least favorite books. At the moment, these are the ones that came to mind, but 2 of them they're generally on my hate list, or at least dislike list. That's The Metamorphosis, the Sleeping Beauty trilogy, The Metamorphosis by, I think the guy's name is Franz Kafka, or something. I don't know his name, but that's a book I had to read for college English. The Sleeping Beauty trilogy by Anne Rice. I think that's what it's called. I did not like that one. It just bothered me. And Their Eyes Were Watching God. That's the least out of those 3. That's the least one that I don't like. I mean, the one that I'm actually okay with, but it's just I wasn't as into it as some of the other books I've read. But I don't dislike that one as much as I dislike the other 2. But Metamorphosis was kind of depressing. I think Metamorphosis kind of is what inspired The Fly. Because it's basically this guy turning into a giant bug, and his family doesn't even realize it, and they end up killing him at the end, I think. Because it's too late, and he turns into the bug. And although I'm pretty sure I would still like The Fly. I would still be interested in The Fly, despite the ending. I think it does end the same way as The Metamorphosis does. But that one's a little. I'd be more into that one, that movie rather than this particular book. The Sleeping Beauty trilogy. Basically, it's about Sleeping Beauty, and when she wakes up, she is, when waked up and kissed by the handsome prince and saved. He takes her to his mother, and they apparently have a sex slave industry, and that's the part I did not like. And the only reason why I tried to read the second book was just to see Beauty escape, and she had a little bit of a romance with one of the other sex slaves, but I couldn't continue it. It just pissed me off. And then, like I said, I don't hate or dislike Their Eyes Are Watching God. It's just not the kind of book I would read more than once. I mean, I don't know, maybe it did not help that I read it for my college English class, so maybe I would like it better. Okay, popular author that you love. Well, currently, I'm just gonna say Sarah J. Maas. I love her books, although I have not read Queen of Shadows yet, because I'm kind of delaying it, because although it is in my collection of books I might read for readathon, but I did not, I'm a fan of Kale. I am still a fan, despite, Heir of Fire and Crown of Midnight. I still like Kale, and because I've heard that he does some dumb crap, but I still like him. I don't want to hate him, but then, and I've heard that Sarah J. Maas kind of ruined his character. But I might still, totally adore him and everything, even if I read Queen of Shadows, but I still need to read it, because she's almost done with the series, and Tower of Dawn is coming out, which is about his character, and hopefully he gets a redemption in that book. But anyway, I still love her books. I know there are flaws about her writing, she's not diverse enough, but I still enjoy them. A popular author you don't like. It's not that I don't like her, it's just I have very mixed feelings about Anne Rice. Sometimes her books are too dark and gritty for me to get into. And, I don't have, and I like her writing style, and I like all the details she puts in her books, but I have a hard time getting into her. But I do have a collection of her Vampire Chronicles in a big book that I'm going to eventually read, and I have read Interview with a Vampire, but I might reread that one. But I will not get rid of that collection, because to me, it's a nice collection. I bought it for a reason, because it's pretty. It was basically the Barnes & Noble hardback editions, those nice covers that look kind of like the old-fashioned books. But they're sturdier, with, the colored edge pages and the bookmark, the little string, that's the bookmark already attached, and it's very nice. So I won't get rid of that. An underrated book you think everyone should read. Question number 5. I didn't have an answer for this one, because I don't know what books are underrated. And I was too lazy to figure that out, to look that up, in Goodreads or something. So I do not have an answer for number 5. Number 6, a series you won't continue. Anne Rice's The Mayfair Chronicles. The first book, I kind of cheated and read to the last page. I did not like how it ended. And I figure I'm not going to read a book that is really long, that's 700 or 1,000 or over 1,000 pages, where I'm not satisfied with the ending. And granted, it's the first book in a trilogy, so who knows, maybe if I continued it, but I had no patience for it, so I ended up getting rid of that one, and I probably won't continue it. Okay, question number 7, earliest book memory. Okay, so my parents, the part of what got me started into reading is because my parents would read to me constantly, in bed, when I'm sitting in the car, because I don't have the problem with reading in the car like some people do. I can read in the car. I can't read on the plane. I can't read on a plane, but I can read in the car, which is kind of funny, but anyway. So, okay, I have to tell you about this one thing first. Okay, we used to go to South Carolina all the time, because that's where my mom's parents live, and her brothers live, and their families, so we still go there, and that's why we moved to North Carolina, so we could be closer to them, because we lived farther away, where it was 8 hours to get there, So it only takes us 3 hours, and we can just do a weekend trip up there, or like stay for a few days with my grandma, because my grandfather, stay with my Lola, and, but my grandfather unfortunately passed away, a few years ago, so she's been kind of lonely, so we make sure to visit her as much as we can. Well, anyway, between North Carolina and South Carolina, there is the south of the border, which is kind of like a truck stop. It has gas stations, there's a little carnival, there's like convenience stores where you can buy souvenirs and all that kind of stuff. And there is this tower that it has a giant sombrero at the top, and from what my parents told me, it is a restaurant inside of the hat. And at night, it lights up. It has lights on it, and the whole tower part is you can either take the stairs or the elevator and get to the top. And for some reason, that freaks me out. I don't like the south of the border. I mean, I'm fine with it now, but when I was growing up, I got scared of it. I don't know why. I can't really explain it. And I can understand why it is a silly, ridiculous fear. So I can understand. I mean, it's still frustrating and pissed me off when my parents and sister would tease me about it because I would cover my head or close my eyes and pretend to be asleep, and they would give me such a hard time about it. Even now, occasionally they've said things to me. I don't remember if they did it the last time we drove to South Carolina, but I liked it when I was a baby, apparently, but when I was like getting older, it freaked me out. I didn't even like looking at it at night with the lights and stuff if we were driving to South Carolina in the dark at night. But it would freak me out. I don't know why. I can't explain it. But it just gave me the EBGBs. And so, we used to have a van. So we would drive down there in our van, and I would sit in the very back. I would always sit in the middle seat, use the middle and so I could put both my stuff, because I bring a lot of crap with me when I go. Like now, I bring like a backpack, and sometimes my Walkman. Yes, I still use a Walkman with CDs, or my iPod, and my laptop, and a backpack with books and notebooks in it and stuff. I mean, when I was younger, it used to be like Barbies and DVDs and stuff that I would bring with me along with books. And sometimes I can't decide, so I bring a lot of books, like 4 or 5, because I have a hard time deciding which book I want to read in the moment. I was sitting in the back. I would have stuff on both sides of me, and then my dad would. I remember one time my dad coming back there to read to me Amelia Bedelia, which was one of my favorite childhood series. So he sat in the back, sat across from me. Unfortunately, my window faced on the side of where the south of the border would pass, where we could see the south of the border as we passed by. So while he's reading me Amelia Bedelia, and actually at the time he was wearing his shirt that had the south of the border on it, with like something about getting drunk and the different, if you take this many drinks, you'll get this way, and you take this many drinks, this will happen. Well, apparently when we were passing by, I guess my eyes got really big, and I was so shocked that I was seeing it, and I had not remembered to cover my eyes. And he just thought that was very funny. He was very amused and teased me about it and everything. I don't know if he remembers it, but I remember that. So, okay, so this doesn't really have much to do with books, but my dad was reading a book to me at the time, one of my favorite books as a kid, so that's why, that's the earliest childhood memory I have. And the other, and that one was more of an actual story, specific story. Okay. So, question number 8, favorite book memory. Going to the midnight release party of Goblin Fire when it was still Borders bookstore. I got very excited. I had just gotten to the series, and I just found out there was the 4th book was coming out, so my parents made sure to bring me there to Borders. We didn't really stick around that long. We just waited until midnight, and we can buy the book. And occasionally my dad probably talked to some people while he was there, because he's just Mr. Social Butterfly. He can talk to anybody, even kids. And he would so we just waited in line to get the book, purchase the book and stuff. So we didn't really stick around. But I just remember going and being really excited because I could not wait to get my hands on the book and read it. And I remember being in the car, in my dad's truck, and just sitting there and already reading the book as soon as I could get, even though there was no light. I still remember going in there and reading it. I don't know if I stayed up late to read it or not. But, Harry Potter, I'm one of those kids that Harry Potter's always been part of my life. So, favorite genre to read? Fantasy. That's question number 9. Number 9, favorite genre to read? Fantasy. Number 10, least favorite genre to read? I say contemporary or romance. The thing is, I don't read a lot of contemporary. I've rarely read contemporary. I'm not a huge fan of what. Now, let me be more specific and say why I'm contemporary. Because to me, I don't want to read about, real life stuff. Stuff that can happen in the real world. I'd rather read something that I can escape into. So, whether it's, something tragic or, romance, I'm not, granted, I will read some romance. I have read a few romances here and there. Especially now because I'm a book reviewer in a magazine, so I'm trying to read variety of books. So I'm trying to read some more romance I can write so I can write a review about it. But I'm just not a fan of romance. Or contemporary. Or at least I don't want it to be the center of the story. Okay, question number 11. Name one difficult book you're proud to say you've read. Gone with the Wind. Of course, there are more difficult books, like Canterbury Tales, for instance, which I have not read. But for me at the time, that was difficult because I had not read anything over 500 pages that I was aware of. Because although I just realized some of the Harry Potter books, book 4 and onward, are pretty long. They're 700 pages or more. So, but that's also written for, and the Host too. I read The Host, which is the same thing. I'm rereading The Host. Actually, I got it from the library because I wanted to reread it because for the first time I watched. A few months ago, I watched the movie version of The Host, and then I saw it at our library, so I felt like I should reread it. And I have been wanting to reread it. It's just, I had already donated the book. I had already got rid of it. So, but I saw it at the library and thought that was, so I grabbed it. So I have read some YA books that are young, YA books that are, I realized some, recently that they are over 500 pages long, which surprised me, but then again, YA books are written for younger readers, so they're easier to read for some people, and not that adult books are that hard, it's just the writing style is kind of dense, and a lot of times if you get the mass-produced books, it's really small print. That's my only problem with reading those kind of books. Is that sometimes they can be dry. And they're just hard to get into. And the print is small and there's so many details and stuff. And I feel like I can't read those books when I'm kind of starting to get tired. Because I have to concentrate on the books I'm reading. And I can't just casually read them. So that's my problem. So it's not that I can't relate to the characters or anything like that. I definitely, even more so now, I can relate to those characters actually. Because I'm 28. So it's definitely, but sometimes it's easier to read books that are either YA or which I will show this book to you guys again, but the way this is written is a little easier to get into too, see? Although this is kind of small print, but it's very straight to the point. It's not as detailed as, something like Game of Thrones, which I'm actually reading the second book, A Clash of Kings. I figured I need to reread it. Okay, but yeah, I felt very proud that I got through Gone with the Wind, and I really love it. I love Scarlett's character. Unfortunately, it took me more than a year to read that book, but I'm gonna definitely, I want to reread that at some point. Okay, favorite childhood book, The Velveteen Rabbit. Question number, okay, let me re-say that. Rewind. Okay, question number 12. Favorite childhood book, The Velveteen Rabbit. I don't remember who the author was, but that is one of my favorite books. which is basically about this rabbit, this velveteen made rabbit who wants to become real, and he finds out the only way he can become real is if he is loved enough by the human child that owns him. And then at one point, the little boy gets sick, and his nanny can't find his toy, his favorite toy, so she gives him the Velveteen Rabbit, and the Velveteen Rabbit, he ends up really loving the Velveteen Rabbit and taking it with him everywhere, and eventually the rabbit slowly starts to become real. Sorry, I noticed I talk really fast, but I think that's because I'm trying to make sure this doesn't get really long, because I know if I go off on tangents and stuff a lot. But I just love that book. I remember my sister has 2 little boys now. And I had wanted, when the first one was born, he was just 2, he just turned 2, I wanted to get him the Velveteen Rabbit. Unfortunately, I had to get a particular version. I had to get the version, those hard, small back books that are like, pocket size. I had to get him that one because, he could potentially tear the pages and draw on the pages and stuff like that. So we had to be careful. I think now it might be okay because he's 2 now. But eventually, I don't know if I ever got it for him or if his other aunt got it for him. I can't remember, or maybe my sister's in-laws, his other grandparents got it for him. But I know eventually he got the book, and I was very pleased with that because I wanted to share that book with him. And it's just very hard because I am a girl. And, there are some books that only girls will like, that are meant for females. So it's hard to find books I have to revise my shopping to get stuff for him that more stereotypically are more for boys. So it was very hard to shop, but that is one of the books that I feel like a boy could enjoy because the main human character is a boy. It's not like the Velveteen Rabbit could be both for girls and boys. Okay, so question number 13, favorite book cover. Okay, so the last 2 questions, the next 2 questions, 13 and 14, are about book covers. I'm not a person who goes by book covers. I understand the appeal of a beautiful book cover, and I get that there are some covers that are just ugly, and there are some covers that I don't really like I don't like the movie tie-in covers of books, because the book and the movie are 2 separate things, so I don't feel like they should take the movie the cover from the movie that would go on the DVD and would be on the poster. I don't feel like it should go on the book, but I understand why. It's a marketing tool. It's to sell the book. Like, if people have seen the movie first, then if they see the book, then, sometimes it will get their attention if it has the same cover as the movie. Now, I'm not against I'm not against buying covers with books with the tie-in movie cover, or, I just recently got a whole bunch of books, and some of them have, or at least one of them I know has the movie tie-in cover of it. So I'm not going to be, against that, because I did want to read that book anyway. But, and I don't hate it, but it's not my favorite type of book cover. But I'm not big, and I get the whole, and I'm not a big fan of people on the cover, and, unless, if it's the side of a face, like the host, the original host cover has a face, half of a face, I'm okay with that. And sometimes if it's a silhouette or something, or like a drawing, like on the original American editions of Harry Potter, they have it's a drawing, I'm okay with that. I'm not gonna hate it as much as, but anyway, I'm not picky about covers, because yes, I get why people might not be drawn to covers. Certain covers are cheesy and stuff. But I will just go and read the back of the summary. If it interests me, then I'll read it. But I'm not gonna, I'm not one of those people that buys books based on covers. I'm nothing against those people that do. And I get that sometimes the first thing you are lured by is a cover. But, sometimes in the bookstores, you don't even see the cover. Although, actually, no, in stores, they might have it faced the other way, where you do see the cover. I have to think, when I go to Next time I go to Books A Million, I'll have to check. I think in the YA section, that's how it is. It's like against the wall, and I think some of the books they do face out one copy of the book so you can see the cover. So, but most of the books are like in profile, like, like this, where you just see the spine. But I'm not big on covers, so I don't have an answer for favorite book cover or an ugly book cover. Question number 15. Name a diverse book you think everyone should read. Well, I didn't have an answer for this when I first wrote, my answers, because I write down when I do these tags. I like to write it down and think about my answers, and then write down my answer, and sometimes give a brief explanation of why I picked that answer. So I did this a while back. But at the time I didn't have an answer, but I do have one now. I don't know, and that is, I am currently reading The Namesake for Aretha Finn, and I am really enjoying this book. I've always kind of liked books about the Indian culture, and this is basically what that's about this Indian couple who moves to America, and they start a family in America, and it's how the kids become Americanized, but the parents still kind of force their traditions and beliefs on their kids because they don't want to forget where they come from. What the Indian culture, they value where they come from, and they think it's important, so they carry on with their traditions. But the kids, are Americanized, so they don't understand and appreciate those traditions. Like one of them is basically a child has two names. A person has two names in the Indian culture. One of them is a temporary name, and then the other one is the real name. Like the temporary name being like a pet name, and then the other one is their real name. And like the couple's son, their oldest son, who kind of becomes the main character throughout the rest of the book, his name is Gogol, and he's named after his father's favorite Russian author, because his father had this experience where the book he was reading the author's work, and then he got caught in a train accident and almost died because the train crashed and he almost got stuck. But so he feels like the book in a way saved his life. So he named his son after the author, the Russian author, and that has kind of plagued the boy for his whole life, and he didn't understand why. He just knew, he knew he was named after his father's favorite author, but he didn't understand why it was so important to his father. He just think, oh, you really like this author, so, because it was a very unique name. It's kind of weird to him. It's Gogol. I think that's how you say it. And he kind of dreaded being called that. So he eventually changes his name. It's basically about him and sister Sonia, and that's not her actual name, but that's the name that they call her. I don't remember what her actual name is. But it's basically the son living that life, and going through all these relationships, and how he is dealing with his parents, and how they celebrate their culture, and the differences between the kids and the parents, and how they value the culture more, and that him and his sister just basically get stuck. Like during when him and his sister have parties, his parents all invite their Indian friends. They're always going for long vacations to Calcutta, where they came from, for several months, and it ruins his, kind of gets in the way of schooling, and it's just. It's a very interesting, it's a very good read. If you don't want to learn about Indian culture, that's fine, and maybe it's not a book for everybody, but I liked it. Now, I should warn you, the chapters are kind of long, are really long, but there's only 12 chapters, so the book isn't that long, but the chapters are long. That's what makes it seem like a long book, but it's not that long, and there are breaks in between. But it's a good book. I really enjoy it. I liked it. It's not necessarily a book I will read again and again, because I'm not big into these kind of books, but I definitely recommend reading this book. It's very, it's all about family, the importance of family, and the importance of your culture and where you come from. I wish I could figure out how to say her name. I felt bad, but it's the namesake, and that's the diverse book I would recommend. Okay, the last question, number 16. Why do you love to read? Well, it's easy. Because reading offers escapism. Reading is like, sometimes your life just sucks, or it's just really boring, and sometimes getting lost in a book is very appealing, and sometimes it's good to see someone else struggle other than you and seeing how they handle their struggles. I think reading is just, it exercises your imagination. It's so fun, and it's just and just as like the grandma says in Inkheart, I just watched that movie last night on HBO. The grandma tells her granddaughter, she's like, I got to go to all these places without having to leave my house. I got to go on these adventures, like to other countries, into other worlds. And I didn't even have to leave the house. I didn't even have to pack. I didn't have to buy a ticket or anything. I didn't have to go through like a magical portal or anything. It was just such, I could have these adventures without ever having to leave my house, without ever having to leave my library. It was like amazing, so that's why I love to read. It's escapism and helps me deal with my personal struggles. But reading is awesome, and I recommend everybody, and if you're a person that doesn't like to read comic books. Comic books, they don't have as much words, they're not long paragraphs of stuff. They're just dialogue, like, so those little bubbles, and there's pictures. So if you're not a person who likes to read, and if you're a parent who wants to encourage your kids to read, then have them read a comic book. Because comic book, it's still reading, it's just had the extra addition of pictures. But they are really good, and, and that, in fact, that's what I told my cousin when she has kids. She has a daughter that doesn't like to read. And I told her, give your daughter a comic book. It's still reading. It's just a different kind of reading. Okay, well, anyway, that was the Ultimate Book Lovers tag, and I will post the link to the original creator on this video. I really hope you enjoyed my me doing this tag. Unfortunately, I don't like tagging people, because I don't know, who's gonna watch my videos, and I don't know, who hasn't done the tags. So if you are watching my video, and if you want to do this tag, I say go for it, and do it. And whether you have done it or not. If you just want to do this tag. And I apologize if I've already done this tag once. I really can't remember if I've done it already, so I apologize if I have done this tag. And if I have, maybe this is better. This is a better version of it. So I will talk to you guys later. Alright, bye.